This is Mad Movie Mark here with another Mad Movie Mark movie review. It is about 102 degrees right now at 6 o'clock at night in Northern California, so it is a very hot day. So it feels good to be able to talk about a movie where it perpetually rains for a 24-hour period, especially in Los Angeles, because we're still in California. So I'm going to be reviewing Magnolia here. This is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It is 3 hours long, and it's part of my, it's going to kick off my top 10 favorite movie of all time series. Last time I did Tell No One, which would have also been part of this series. However, I've already reviewed it, so it's too late, so I just replaced it. And then next, when I do my bottom 10 movies, that would have had Oz the Great and Powerful, but I unfortunately have already reviewed that as well, so I had to replace that. Oz the Great and Powerful would have probably been a top 3 least favorite movies of all time that I've ever seen, and Tell No One probably would have been in the top 7 or 8 somewhere, so it's not replaced. I just threw another movie on the list. There's plenty of movies to choose from. I had a really hard time coming up with the top 10 favorite movies of all time. Bottom 10's proving to be kind of hard also, but there are a lot of movies that I omitted that I wish I didn't have to do. So anyway, this is a 3-hour movie. For me, it never felt like it was 3 hours. I'm not going to go over the plots like I've done in the last 2 reviews. I tried that, and my YouTube video ended up being about 17 minutes long, which is just way too long. I couldn't even listen to it myself. It was too long. So basically, I'm going to run over the cast, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about the movie, and hopefully someone will watch it. So the cast includes Tom Cruise, Jason Robards, Julianne Moore, Phillip Seymour Hoffman, William H. Macy, Philip Baker Hall, Jeremy Blackman, Melora Walters, and John C. Reilly. This movie is a fretful movie. It is a depressing movie. It is a movie where everyone pretty much lives a drab, dreary life. They all have issues going on, which do not lead to happy times. It's a lot like, say, a Pulp Fiction or a Crash or Babel. The only difference is, unlike Babel or Crash, this movie is actually pretty good. And the difference between this and Pulp Fiction is that Pulp Fiction is non-linear, where this is told in a linear fashion. And they do a really good job in this movie. There's a lot of big actors in this movie, which usually is a recipe for destruction. I do a very poor job in keeping track of a lot of different people in a movie, especially in a movie that's 3 hours long. I just simply could not do it for Black Hawk Down. I could not remember any of the characters after I watched it. There were characters in Black Hawk Down that were killed off, and I couldn't remember who they were. I had the same problem with The Hobbit. I couldn't keep up with any of the characters in The Hobbit either. There were just too many thrown at me all at once, and it resulted in a very poor movie experience. But this movie is not that way at all. The backstories are so good for each character. Each character makes you feel a certain way. You feel bad for them. You wish that you could just jump in the screen and help these people and shake them and say everything will be fine. So basically what's going on in this movie is you have a lot of different characters. Some of these characters are either children or were, obviously they were children in the past, but their story heavily revolves around their childhood. And then there are also characters in this movie who are parents of these children. Some of these children are grown adults now, and you're hearing about how they were treated as children. And all these people were treated poorly, very, very bad. Tom Cruise plays kind of a womanizing TV personality who does videos on how to get women by treating them poorly. His father was someone who cheated on his mother. His father not only cheated on his mother, but cheated on his mother multiple times, which maybe gives you an idea of why Tom Cruise feels the way he does about women. He kind of feels like he can just toss them aside. He doesn't want relationships. He just wants to get what he wants and leave, and that's pretty much what his father did. Only his father in the movie, you learn that his father was truly in love with this woman that he cheated on a million times. On his deathbed, he proclaims that he wished he had never cheated on her and that it was the biggest mistake that he ever made. William H. Macy plays a character who was once a child prodigy who was on a game show in which the children play against the adults, and he was a boy genius back then. His parents ended up stealing all of his money from them, and then later on in life he became basically a degenerate who is very lonely in life, never really was able to accomplish what he wanted to. He's very down on himself. He feels like his parents stole everything from him that he had, and now he's just kind of an empty shell of a person walking around looking for love, looking for that piece of him that's missing, whether it be a good job or finding love, which is basically what he's searching for throughout the entire movie. You also have Melora Walters, who plays Claudia. She also has a backstory where she was a child. Her father abused her in different ways, alcoholic, and he is now the host of this child game show that William H. Macy was once on. He is dying of cancer. He tries to reconcile with his daughter, who wants nothing to do with him. You realize later on that that's completely justifiable because every adult in this movie who is a mother or father is basically terrible. So you're fine with that. Then you have John C. Reilly, who plays a cop. He's not a very good cop. He's great with people. He loves people, but he's not good at his job. He loses his gun at some point. He pursues Melora Walters' character, the girl I was just talking about, who is the daughter of the game show host. She is a drug addict now. Basically, the abuse that she got from her father took a toll on her, and she now, I'm assuming, I would just make assumptions here, she's using drugs to take away the pain that she had as a child. John C. Reilly falls for this girl. He is also this is a movie about lonely people. He's also a lonely person just looking for love in the wrong places. He is blinded by the fact that he just wants to find someone to love and to be loved. And he's not able to see why this might not be a good person to pursue. And then you have Phillip Seymour Hoffman, who plays the caretaker for Tom Cruise's father. He spends most of the movie trying to get Tom Cruise to come see his dying father. Tom Cruise, through the first half of the movie, Tom Cruise is very much into himself, very confident person. And then once he realizes his dad's looking for him, you can definitely see the breakdown in him. And you can see he kind of loses his armor at that point once he realizes his dad's looking for him and his dad is dying. Not because he is necessarily sad that his dad is dying, but just because he was hoping to leave that part of his life behind him, like I think most of these people are. Tom Cruise is someone who does not look into the future very well, or into the past very well. He does not dwell on the past. He even says at some point that looking into the past will not help with anything, that you should look into the future. I'm assuming that's just because his past is so terrible. On the other side of the coin, William H. Macy is someone who can only look into the past. He is incapable of looking at anything but who he once was, and in that way it kind of cripples him and makes him unable to move forward. I think these two story arcs are my favorite in the movie because at the end you kind of see William H. Macy embrace what he needs to do now and how he should move forward, and he's no longer looking back. Tom Cruise is able to kind of look back and realize what happened in his life and why maybe the why maybe it's okay to look back and deal with things instead of trying to push them aside and bury them deep down inside. He definitely has a moment where you don't think that someone like his character could get emotional, but he has a very emotional moment where he finally takes all that bottled up energy, bottle up emotions and lets it out. This is a fantastic. I mean, there's other storylines I haven't even talked about in this movie. This is a fantastically acted movie. Everyone in this movie is great. There's not one single character I didn't like. They all have very fleshed out backstories. And any character who's on the screen, I immediately care about, and I want to know what's going to happen to them. I want to know what's going on in their lives. You care about every single character. I mean, and what's happened to these kids when they were kids. It does a very good job of showing what a child needs in their life, and when they don't get it, how they might end up. It definitely it hammers home the idea that if you come from a broken home, that it's very hard to dig yourself out of that. It's very hard to become. You don't have a lot of chances in life if you come from this type of environment. Even if you're a whiz kid like William H. Macy, who was a genius, it's very difficult when your parents rob, cheat, steal from you to make it. You really need that parental backbone in order to live up to what you want to become. I love this movie. Like I said, it's in my top 10 movies of all time. I would give it a 9 point, let's say a 9.5 out of 10. There are movies in my top 10 that will only get a 9. Some movies are in my top 10 just because I have a personal feeling for them where I love them, but I don't think they're like necessarily one of the best movies ever made. I just love them. But story-wise, I would say this is one of the better movies I've ever seen. Like I said, I've seen Babel, I've seen Crash, and I don't think they do a very good job of telling multiple stories at one time where I think this one does. I just think that this is so well written that it would be hard. I like Pulp Fiction a lot. I would put this ahead of Pulp Fiction. I know if anyone watches this video, I'm going to get filleted for saying that because Pulp Fiction is such a classic and everyone loves it. But I would take this over Pulp Fiction. I think the story is great. The emotion in what they're doing is fantastic. You really feel for the characters, and in some ways, I felt like I was John C. Reilly. There are things in my life I have a hard time communicating like he does. I love people like he does. Sometimes I feel like I'm not necessarily the best at my job and what I do, but I try to get by being a people person. So I think that it's easy to see yourself in some of these characters, especially if you've gone through hard times. These characters will speak to you, and it'll make you feel a certain way emotionally that maybe other movies wouldn't. I didn't realize today I would have a co-star, and that is my dog Lucky behind me. So Pitbull right there. So anyway, that's my review. Next week it'll be my number 9 favorite movie of all time, and that is going to be Amadeus. So we will see you next time. Have a great day.